Oh, hi there, Paul Davis here from Nimbus Maps. Just a quick video just to run you through the kind of key stuff I'd be using if I was to use Nimbus Maps Elite in that kind of licence and leisure sector that we've kind of used it for in the past. Really, so first kind of top tips, really kind of location search here. I can type in anything there that I know about a particular pub maybe. So if I want to find the Rose and Crown in Warwick, I can use Google to go and find that for me. So that sort of search there does that for me. We finally, Nimbus goes off, finds that location for us through Google Maps in effect, and that's showing me there the centre of that location, and the pub that sits behind it is the Rose and Crown Warwick, obviously. I do like this little kind of split screen view here, so if I just drop the little guy onto the map, I can then sort of see the property at the top, and underneath see sort of the outline of that particular property, so I kind of understand exactly what I'm looking at and how that sits on the ground underneath it. You should check all the information on the left hand side panel you'll be very familiar with. That's all cool, I'm sure you're kind of happy with that. In the filter section, one of the questions I'm going to have is, should I take the upper parts converted to Resi? What should I do with that? And you can go and find comps sort of doing that. So you can click on this residential comps button here, click update, the platform then will go off and just find those properties that are sold in the area. And you can then sort of click around the map and sort of see those. So looking at this, 21 Linden Street sold. It's down here, we'll see the price paid and rate per square foot. And that just tells me that it was £376 a foot when it was sold in 13th of October 2017, 239,635 square feet in effect. Click this link here, takes me to Rightmove, and I can then go and see number 21, which is this one down here. It's obviously sold for £375 a foot, sorry, £375 a foot rather. Looks in reasonable condition, looks like a sensible number to go and put as a kind of a converted second-hand stock kind of price for two-bed terraced house in Warwick in effect. But I can go next level down, look in the exports on the right hand side, click the sale comparables there. That then just drops that all into Excel for me, so I can then go and have a look at that, and I can see then sort of the various prices. These are the rates per square foot, sort of see the variance that goes in that area, so everything from sort of £200 a foot up to sort of 375, and I can kind of dig through that, and that's kind of where those comps become really important to understand. Is it £375 a foot, or is it £200 a foot? Because that's going to be very different in terms of my the development appraisal that I'm sort of looking at in effect. So that's kind of a quick one which you can use that. Other stuff I'd be doing is I'd be interested to know, so kind of here we're looking at Warwick District Council, so I'd be doing a planning search. So here I can type in Warwick District Council, so in effect search this council, and in fact I can search a number of other councils as well at the same time if I want to, so I could do Warwickshire County Council at the same time, and I can then search for key terms. So maybe I'm interested in pub, maybe I'm interested in A4 uses, maybe I'm interested in restaurants. And in effect, what this is going to do for me is going to do a keyword search across those two councils to see are there any planning applications for those that sort of see those words in the application text in effect. So the description the architect has put into the council in effect. So what I can then see is that all exported to Excel. There's my link through to go and see it. There's the application number. This is the proposal, so kind of change of use for bank into whatever it's saying here. Upper floors, hotel, restaurant, etc, etc, etc. There's the address of it, so on the Parade in Leamington Spa, and I can just understand then the dates of those and whether they've been granted, etc, etc. Kind of finding an interesting one in there is going to be really interesting. Obviously then you can go and link through, see the planning application, understand what kind of conditions you might get around yours. If you're looking for extension, I could add that keyword in for extension. So if I'm looking at a particular pub and I want to extend the back of it and invest in that pub, then I can have a look at what kind of permissions have kind of come back on that application. Sorry, on the applications that are nearby, or permissions nearby, so I can kind of understand what I'm likely to get, whether I'm going to get consent or not in effect. What I'd also be doing is in some of those kind of cases where I want to see am I going to get consent or not, and if I am, or if I'm going to go and submit a planning application, what are the issues I'm going to face as part of my planning application. Kind of a couple of the key ones are things like area of outstanding attribution and Greenbelt, and there are overlays in the platform that allow me to see that. So if I'm kind of doing an application in Old Milverton, I'm dealing with Greenbelt and kind of issues over how that might affect, or how the planners might affect that. I kind of go in with my eyes open on that when it's happening. And same with A&OB, kind of that's perhaps even more important, because if I'm doing a development in Moreton and Marsh and I want to kind of reinvest in the pub that I own there, then if it's A&OB, then of course that area of outstanding attribution designation is then going to affect the design I've got to put into that extension to make it acceptable to planners. But I can see that all from the outset. In effect, that's shown in the overlay and also shown on that left-hand side panel when the information panel pops out, and I can sort of see at the bottom this is the one in Leamington. There's no kind of issues around that. Some of the other key stuff that I'd be looking at, if I jump into, say, Leamington, let's just have a quick search in the centre of town. I'm just going to take my filters off, so let's reset those, click update, and then I'll jump across into, let's do a search here. In effect, understanding whether particular properties are listed, whether they flood and this sort of stuff. So if we, in fact, let's go into Stratford upon Avon, that's kind of an interesting one, I always think. Let's jump to there. The platform catch yourself. I know kind of around here there's some interesting stuff. So looking at some of the pubs that are around there, and this is one here that I've looked at in the past. And then just as you kind of go down to the bottom of it, so firstly that planning history around this particular pub and kind of what's been going on with it. But also then whether it's listed or not. If it is listed, it shows you that the Red Line Inn in Stratford is listed. Click the link, shows you the link straight through to Historic England. Within that, it then tells me down here what the grade of that listing is. Kind of really helpful when it comes to the planning application for the extension, things like that I'm going to be doing. But then also the details section down here becomes really important, because whatever's said in here is what the Conservation Officer is going to get upset with you about if you try and change it. So, some exposed beams inside, builder closes the view down Guild Street, also closes the views down Warwick Road. So kind of changes to that frontage and to those exposed beams are going to get resisted by the Conservation Officer. So if you know about that now, you can deal with that as part of your application rather than sort of getting caught out later on. You can also see with any flooding risks. This is showing there is a flood risk, and we link through to the flood map that kind of shows us kind of what the extent of that flooding is. So that's kind of really interesting. This is kind of flood zone 3, so kind of really important to know about. But also there's a flood risk bit, and that flood risk bit is really powerful when it comes down to the surface water issues. So that second entry here is just showing the surface water issues on the site as well, which may well need to get dealt with as part of any redevelopment of that site. So kind of really important to understand that stuff if you're going to go in for planning on whether that's a reinvestment or whether that's a redevelopment of the site, obviously. Kind of quick and easy ways to do that. Obviously the planning history is really helpful to understand, and then also kind of just some of the filters around kind of uses and things like that. If I want to go and see all the neighbouring pubs, I can just kind of toggle all of these off, take them all off, and just see the licensed pubs nearby in effect. So kind of really quick and easy ways of doing that. So the final thing then is the company search I'll be using. So if I'm getting an offer from perhaps my tenanted estate for a new tenant, or if I've got an offer through maybe from one of the retailers, I want to go and buy this pub, you're going to knock it down, I'm going to build a discount retail store on there. You can do a company search in here, so let's do it in the case of discount retail, so let's do Lidl, say. Type Lidl into that company search, gives you all the lists of companies that match that. Obviously off the offer you've got, you're going to have a name of a company, so Little UK GmbH is the one that's kind of got all the Lidls in it in effect, and I can then click search and the system will then go and display that on the map for me. From there I can do a couple of things. I can zoom in and around and see sort of where the nearest Lidls are and sort of understand kind of how my site sits in relation to that. But I can also export that into Excel, so I can do a company ownership export. That then allows me to see in Excel that entire estate. From there, what I can do is I can then search and filter it. So I can see here the most recent freeholds that they've bought. So I can see it's Little UK, there's the title, that's freehold, the date they bought it, the address of that property, so their correspondence address, and then link back into Nimbus Maps to go and see that particular building, or that particular site rather. And I can sort of then build up a picture around kind of what they pay. I can go and buy a title register if it's not on the left-hand side panel. There's often price paid, and the commercial properties are in that left-hand side panel. If it's not there, I can go and buy a register through the platform on that left-hand side panel to go and see what they paid for that. Left-hand side panel will tell me how big that site is as well, so I can then get a price per acre and understand whether what they're offering for my site is the best they can get to or not. In addition to that, sort of down the bottom of this, this is where I'm going to test myself because my skills within Excel on a Mac are pretty limited. But in effect, what I should be able to do is filter, which I can do there, and then I can then drop down here and say, well, just show me the leaseholds now. So this is then if I've got an offer from the likes of Lidl or Aldi or whoever else it might be, or Co-op or whatever the offer is. what I can do here is I can see the last leases that they took, and then with that I can go and click into the platform and then download those leases for those most recent leases that they've accepted, which then allows me to go and check the covenants they're offering and check whether what they're offering me is the strongest that they can get to, and whether some of those covenants can obviously make a huge difference. If there's a 5-year break in a 15-year lease, it's going to make a percentage point difference in your yield when you sell it, and therefore a huge difference in terms of the capital value of the asset you're creating, and obviously what little they can afford to pay you in terms of if they're buying the site off you, or if they're going to sell that investment on. So kind of really important to get a clear understanding of what they will actually accept and what they will actually pay, and this is the way you can do that. So whether that's for occupiers like this, whether that's maybe a competition, if you're bidding for a new site or a number of new sites, you can see what your competition is bidding by doing the same search but for them instead of Lidl or Aldi or whatever it might be we're looking at the moment. So you can understand the terms they offer, you can understand the leases that they take, and then understand kind of where you're strong and where you're weak against that. So kind of really powerful ways in which you can understand how you fit into the marketplace and how your competitors are, what they're up to, and how they're acting, or alternatively how the companies are that are bidding and making offers to you, understand whether that's the right level or not, all kind of based off the data and based off fact rather than perhaps the gut feel and things like that that's obviously used so much in the industry in effect. So hopefully all that's clear. I think that's really kind of covers off a fair chunk of what I wanted to put into want to talk about really. So his final thing is if there's kind of availability, we've got a lot of availability in the platform. If you're looking at your pub in Warwick or whatever it is, or perhaps a Stratford example, we can type in the postcode into that availability section. So let's just drop into one so we can just pick that out and see what's going on. So in this case here, I'm looking at Lidl. In fact, let's do that in Stratford quickly. 2 seconds. So we just drop down here, and in fact I've gone too far, haven't I? Let's keep going. Let's drop into Oxford instead. That's kind of interesting. So if we then kind of nip into the centre of Oxford here, click search here, click on this here. What this thing going to give me is I think I've got a filter on here. Should I reset those? So reset the filter, update, and then let's do centre of town. So in effect what I can then do here is I can then do an availability search. We've kind of got these are available properties, so actually trying to understand what the marketplace is, perhaps for other uses nearby. What I can do is I can take a postcode of a particular property, so if I just take that one for example, I'm going to do control copy, and I'm going to go to exports here, go into the availability, type that postcode in. What that's then going to do is it's going to give me an export of all the properties that are available from the top 100 surveying firms across the UK. In that outgoing postcode, in effect, is showing OX1. These are all the properties that are on the market with these big agents. That can just be really helpful just to understand if I've got a town centre building, could I convert the upstairs into offices? Well, what does the offices look like? Well, here's all the sort of stuff that's on the market. This is now getting extended as we speak. So we've currently got 100 surveying firms' websites being scraped and information coming off those 100 surveying firms' websites. That's scaling out now to 200 and 300 over the course of the next month or so. So you'll see an awful lot more of that being populated and giving you that kind of nice, clear understanding of what's going on in sort of certain marketplaces in effect. Hope that's clear, hope that's helpful. The final thing you can do is kind of perhaps the planning overlay might be helpful. So if we just click on this, we can display planning here from a certain date, click update, and what it's going to do is then show me in the platform those properties that are edged in yellow where there's a planning application, the planning history in effect. I can then click on those, and that planning history then will sort of show on the left hand side panel, telling us kind of what's been going on those sites in effect. So kind of very quick and easy, so you can sort of use that. Centre of Oxford, there's a lot going on, lots of listed buildings and this sort of stuff that making a difference of why there's so much in there. But some of those perhaps smaller towns and villages and stuff where kind of lots of pubs and things like that people working on, that can be kind of very interesting to see kind of what else is going on nearby, what residential planning consents have been coming through, and how does that affect perhaps my plans with the property that I'm looking at in effect. Any kind of issues or plans around how to, or kind of want to know how to use any of this, there's this training section here where you can kind of run through all the stuff I've just been talking to you about. You can click on these, and sort of just create little videos and finding land or whatever it is. If it's not relevant for you guys, let's get rid of that one. But planning histories or whatever, click play on that and I'll just run through a little video of how to do all of that in effect. So kind of very quick and easy, very quick ways of just understanding how to do all of this. If you decide you want to go forward with us, there's on our website there's lots of training that you can have. You can talk to me personally. You can book those training sessions in. Each user has access to me, and making sure that you can get the most out of these platforms. We'll make sure you get the most out of the platform in effect on our our contact us page where we do this. You can click on that contact us page, and you can then book in a 20-minute slot with me, half an hour slot with me, depending on how long you want. So here you just click on that, and that will then give you access to my diary, and just book in the next available slot, and off you go in effect. So kind of very quick and easy ways, and we can kind of then switch on its head and get you guys presenting to me, so we can make sure that you're kind of fully understanding how to use all of this if that's what you want to do. Failing that, we have user guides, we have access to a whole load of stuff, really, the kind of the 2-minute tips. There are articles on the platforms. You can ask our guys down here sort of through this as to how you do certain things, or you can type questions into here, how do I download lists or something like that. That will then kind of give you some little kind of answers to that, little articles that kind of show you how to do all of that. So kind of really kind of quick and easy ways of doing that. And say sort of a 2-minute video if you want to kind of understand how to do those things as well. So kind of quick and easy, and just kind of there when you want it, in whichever way you want to kind of interact with us, really. Hope that's helpful, and thanks for your time today, and any problems give us a shout, and we'll look forward to hearing from you. Thanks a lot, bye for now.